Thanks for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, medical aid group Doctors Without Borders clashes once again with Cameroon. Its military accuses the organisation of helping wounded Anglophone rebels and is investigating some of its health workers. Also, the voices of the voiceless resonate with the South African court judgement, which blocks oil giant Shell from using seismic waves to explore for gas off the Eastern Cape. In a rare win, local communities' concerns about the environmental effects of the plan force a suspension. And the Great Green Wall struggles to flourish, but is making a difference nonetheless. Dozens of gardens have sprung up in the Senegals desert, helping local businesses and communities reclaim the arid land, even as the Pan-African project as a whole tries to overcome hurdles. But first, Cameroon's militaries released several health workers working for Doctors Without Borders who'd been held for several days. They'd been accused of helping Anglophone separatist fighters and are still being investigated. Doctors Without Borders, known by its French acronym MSF, has denied taking sides. The aid group was suspended from operating in the English-speaking Northwest in 2020 after being suspected by the government of being too close to English-speaking secessionists. Accusations it vehemently denies. Claudia Sono has more.
Fresh tensions have sparked between Cameroonian authorities and Doctors Without Borders. In a statement signed on December 27, the Ministry of Defense accused the medical humanitarian organization of clandestine evacuations and covering up for armed separatists, despite what it has called repeated warnings from local authorities. Doctors Without Borders immediately denied these allegations. It has insisted that in Cameroon, like elsewhere in the world, it treats people solely on the basis of their medical needs, regardless of their origin or affiliation. Now, this is not the first time that the government has accused the organization of supporting local armed groups to the extent of threatening to oust them from the country. In December 2020, Cameroonian authorities suspended Doctors Without Borders activities in the Northwest region for the same reasons. The NGO is one of very few international organizations providing free medical care to communities in the Northwest and Southwest regions of the country, where since late 2017, violent clashes between armed militia and security forces have displaced over 700,000 people and left over 5,000 people dead.
Claudia Sono there for us. Now, despite the insecurity in Cameroon's English-speaking regions, the cities of Limbe and Buea in the southwest will host Group F teams of the 2021 African Cup of Nations. Separatists, though, have already claimed responsibility for several explosions in Buea, and there's mounting concern about the safety of players and fans expected to attend the tournament in January. Our correspondents tell us more.
The B, an elite unit of the Cameroonian army, is on patrol on this road in Buea. They've been mobilized to secure the southwest regional capital ahead of the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations.
On a un des postes qu'on va voir tout à l'heure qui nous permet de cadrer la ville.
In neighborhoods like this one, targeted by recent attacks attributed to armed English-speaking separatists, Colonel Maidwang's men are increasing their patrols on foot or in armored vehicles. Armed militias who've been at war with Paul Biya's regime for 5 years now are threatening to attack the tournament. Security has been reinforced around the stadium where Group F teams will train. Special security plans for the event will be kept secret.
Le BI a, n'est-ce pas, pris certaines dispositions pour permettre que la CAN se déroule dans de très bonnes conditions et pour également ne donner aucune chance aux forces d'opposition de perturber cette CAN-là.
The seaside city of Limbe, some 22 kilometers away, will host matches for Group F. This hotel is preparing to receive official delegations from Tunisia and Mauritania. Its owner is particularly attentive to security measures.
Là, il y a le plan d'urgence.
She remains positive despite threats from armed separatists.
Nous avons une compagnie de sécurité, en plus de l'armée qui nous assiste et qui nous accompagne tout le temps pour qu'on puisse jeter au loin tous ces séparatistes qui veulent nous gâter la fête.
Like the rest of the country, the AFCON fever has not yet gripped the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. But in this market in Limbe, traders like Frederick dream of making good profits during the competition.
We are really afraid that there is insecurity, but I should make money during this period so that I also have enough to feed my family.
Group F games will open in Limbe on January 12. The city had welcomed teams for the 2020 African Nations Championship without any incidents.
A South African court has blocked fossil fuel giant Shell from using seismic waves to explore for oil and gas off the country's wild coast region. The High Court in Makanda ruled that Shell had not adequately consulted with coastal communities. Exploration had been due to start on December 1st, but conservationists and local groups filed a suit arguing that the plans would irreversibly damage marine life and the livelihoods that relied on them. Thousands demonstrated against the scheme in Eastern Cape this month. Now, Shell said that the technique is safe, but has paused operations. It's not clear whether it will appeal. Nontle Mutuma is a local campaigner who's welcomed the ruling.
This victory, it means a lot to us, not only to us, but for the world as well. Because this victory, it shows that the environment is going to be safe when it comes to a big corporation.
Now, local concerns in this instance seem to have trumped the interests of a huge company like Shell. Do you think that this could have wider repercussions for communities worried about the effects of big business plans that could impact their ways of life?
This was going to leave a huge negative impact. And there will be no money can pay at the damage that they're going to do for our livelihood. That is why we said that we need to be consulted. Our views, our concerns are very important before Shell go ahead.
And what was at stake?
You know, this, according to South African government, they see it's a big stake, because they think it's going to improve the economy of South Africa. But the question, why are we going to compromise our livelihood for a short-term development? Because mining in ocean is a short-term, but our livelihood, it's a long-term. It's been here for centuries, and it did boost the economy. But it's always be clear that government always choose the big corporation over our livelihood.
So in getting that balance between getting investment that would go a long way to boost development and looking after environmental concerns, do you think the government got that judgment wrong?
And I'm sure our government is very disappointed, because they were strongly backing up Shell that this development is good for communities. But the question, if this development was good for communities, why the government of South Africa failed South Africans, residents, so much? Because it's their duty to consult people, to speak to the people. And also it's their duty to lead and guide these big corporations that are coming to develop our country, and to make sure that our laws are being followed and also our cultures are being respected. And they failed to do so.
So you sound pretty disappointed there in terms of the decisions taken from your government. Now, when it comes to the courts, an earlier suit from conservationists against Shell's plans was rejected by a lower court in December. Shell could still appeal against this judgment. So what's your next step going to be?
I know it's very possible for Shell to go and appeal this decision, because they know that they have a backup, which is our government. But for us, it's not the end of the world. Even if they appeal, we'll continue to fight. This is our livelihood. This is our environment. We cannot compromise our environment, especially during this global crisis that we are facing as a country, as a world, as globally. Now, we need our government to think alternative for fuel, for fossil fuels.
Nontle Mutuma there speaking to me a little earlier on. Now, people living in some of Senegal's most arid regions are building drought-resistant gardens as part of Africa's Great Green Wall project. It was launched in 2007 by the African Union and aims to build a 5,000-mile-long line of trees across the continent to hold back the encroachment of the Sahara. But the scheme has struggled to flourish and has faced a series of setbacks. Nevertheless, a mosaic of smaller projects has already taken root. Laurent Berstecker tells us more.
Working the arid land to create a flourishing oasis in the middle of the desert. These circular gardens mimic natural ecosystems by letting different species grow next to each other, a concept known as permaculture, which agro-engineer Ali Ndiaye helped bring to the border town of Boki Diawe in northeastern Senegal.
Donc ici vous avez les plantes médicinales sur le premier plan. Les trois plans là sont dédiés aux légumes, une variété de légumes. Les papayes, les limons, les citronniers et les citruses, les anacardiers, les natifs, les fertilitaires et au fond, le baobab et les caïcédras qui sont plus grands.
Over the past 7 months, dozens of circular gardens have sprouted throughout the Senegalese desert, a way to reclaim land long considered too arid to cultivate and to improve food security and livelihoods for local residents. The key to their success, involving the community and establishing a sense of local ownership. Moussa Kamara says the project has helped his baking business grow. He hopes such initiatives can encourage more locals to invest in their land instead of seeking opportunities abroad. Senegal's circular gardens are part of Africa's Great Green Wall, an ambitious reforestation initiative launched by the African Union in 2007. It aims to plant 8,000 kilometers of forest in an area stretching from Senegal to Djibouti, spanning 11 countries. Nearly 15 years after its launch, the project is still a far cry from achieving its goals and would need to quadruple its current rhythm to meet its target of restoring 100 million hectares of land by 2030.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us and stay with us. More coming up after a short break. Take care.